Hello everyone. So it is finally finished. The all collectibles TAS is now done. But don't worry, I didn't actually spend 6 months doing this. There was a pretty lengthy hiatus in the middle there. And it actually didn't end up taking as much work as I initially thought, because a lot of the sections are just copied from the any percent in-game time TAS. But yeah, it is finally done. I'm pretty happy with the result. Although I would have liked it to be sub 7. But yeah, this time around I thought I would do a bit of a commentary video, just because I think some of the tricks and tech in the TAS might not be super obvious, and I think knowing a bit of the behind the scenes stuff makes it even more impressive. So yeah, I'm just going to go through it and talk about the interesting parts. There are lots of parts that aren't that interesting, obviously, and I'm going to try and keep it slightly short so it doesn't drag on too long. But yeah, I'm just going to start the video off. All the menuing is done manually, so all the save warps and stuff, just because I couldn't find a way to do it automatically. So yeah, we start off with doing Marcy's trick for the opening, which is faster by about 0.6 seconds, I think. No, 0.4 seconds. And this opening section, there's not really much interesting going on. It's just the earliest shots you can make in each of the rooms. The first interesting section, I guess, is the next room. I'm not entirely sure if this is the fastest. Any room where you have to move vertically up, it's always difficult to know what is actually the fastest. But what I do here is just basically what I like to call stair boosts. So they're kind of like chain jumps, but they're off just stairs. So you obviously can't do it off a wall because you can't get far enough away, but when you have stairs you can do it. So we just do all the way up here, and then, spoiler for later, we're going to hit this checkpoint, which is it's a very cool strat coming up, and then we just do the wall boost off here to get up to the... Oh. This video player sometimes jumps a bit far. And then I didn't get the collectible there. Oops, I should probably talk about double warp. But I didn't get the collectible there, and the reason I didn't do this is because I just wanted to copy a bigger section of the any percenting in TAS, so I just get it on the next pass. It just meant I had less to change here at the beginning, and so we just do the move pretty standard. And then, unlike what we would do in a real-time run, we go over here to actually do double warp. So we go from right to left through the corner. You can actually see the glitch effect loading the room there. And then we actually very briefly land on the ledge where you would normally do the warp with pausing. And then we do the second warp here. It takes a little longer. And then, yeah, we're out of bounds. And then we're obviously not going to get the heart. Obviously, well, so for the TAS sake, you could probably get the heart without losing any frames. But the reason we're skipping it is because we can skip the dialogue later, and we have to drop down to get the checkpoint to do the save warp after the gun upgrade. This room has changed a lot since the any percenting. I don't know how I came up with this, but so it's normal now, and then we do a shot here. I think this is mostly just because yeah, I was falling too fast, so I need that shot to just slow down a bit, because if not I would have hit the ground, actually either here or here, and I need the falling momentum for later. And so this shot I think is pretty close to the limit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so it's not quite at the limit, but it's pretty close that you can't make this shot. And so we make this setup shot to get the grounded state later, while we get teleported up here, while we're still falling. And then we just walk off the edge, and this just about lines up. So this is the first frame you can shoot off where you can actually hit this ledge. If we shot here, it would go above. And so right after we shoot that, we come here, we get the grounded state, and we teleport over here. So this saves having to jump over, and I can't remember exactly how many frames this saves, but it's not a lot. It's like somewhere around 10 frames, I think. It's just that the teleshot actually moves much faster than Yuri would if you were to jump over, even though you have to do the falling first. So yeah, and then we're just gonna do chain jumps here. I think I tried to look at a way to do change jumps all the way up, but I wasn't like, if you could boost off of here, but I don't think you can quite clear that ledge. So we do actually land in the middle here, right there, and then we do chain jumps for the rest. And then it messes up again. I don't know why the video player is doing that. Then we have a slightly, or this was actually the first, I can't remember if this was the first version I found of this, or if this was the second. But there's a slight variation of the way you would do this, where we actually do a setup shot down here. So the reason for this setup shot is, so normally you would jump here, and you would wait until you started falling so that you could get to the ground before this shot, well, the shot I'm going to do here. But here we don't actually need to wait until we start falling, because this shot is going to get us down to the ground just in time to get out. And then we just have, yeah, that's pretty standard. And then here, the only deviation from how you would normally do this is that we do blue beam boosts off of this, which saves going over here, so it's just slightly faster. And oops. And this is the clip that I've already teased. So we do a shot here, which I actually think is just copied from the Anywhere in Game Time TAS. But then instead of jumping and doing the warp, we teleport over here. So this is just to get the grounded state. And then we do this very, very precise wall boost. So I think this is might actually be sub-pixel perfect, because you need to be pretty high on this wall if you're going to get the boost that takes you all the way over. And yeah. Then we just drop down and get the collectible, and of course you can't see anything, but we do the same pretty much pixel perfect boost to get back, and then we just do the warp into city. And then very soon the task is going to slow down a bit, because I'm going to take over for the menuing. And then here comes the interesting strat, because now we're here, and this is not usually where you are after you get the Gascon. So I was really excited when I came up with this, and then I did a bunch of testing to figure out if it was actually faster. I was pretty sure it would be, but what we're going to do is actually the new any % route, basically. So we're going to, this time we are actually going to get the collectible. We are going to go through here once more, but I just got it now. And we of course collect it while doing the move for style points, and also because it's faster. And then we are actually going to do the triple warp over to crash site. Yeah, So we're up here. And that's, I think it jumped a bit there, but yeah, so that's just triple warp over here. And so it's much faster than actually having to walk, even though we had to climb out of bounds and do the move and all that. But yeah, and then we just do a little jump down here to get a bit more momentum after we teleport. We shoot the block as early as possible. Yeah, and then there's more menuing. And then we're back here again, and we climb back out of bounds once more. So this actually has Lemove 3 times, which is fun. And it's quite a lot faster. I don't remember the actual numbers off the top of my head, but it's quite a lot faster than doing the second or third checkpoint that we usually use. And so here this ends up being very precise. So we actually have to do a little jump here to get enough downwards momentum from this teleport to get out of the room before the dialogue for the heart shows up. I think there's a couple of frames leniency, but it's not a lot. And then we just hit the checkpoint and go on our way to get the Gauss-Kron upgrade like you normally would. There isn't anything too interesting happening right here. Here we do slightly differently than you would. So we do the setup shot before getting the collectible. And then after getting the collectible we do the wall boosts on each side. So you actually only technically have to do one shot across the whole room. And then we're back here. Here I actually go the left route. Turns out to be faster for two reasons. I think it is actually faster no matter what. But the second reason you don't want to go the right route is because this enemy is kind of in the way. So you would have to shoot from like the middle here, which obviously that loses about 4 frames on the shot. Maybe 3 frames, which isn't a lot, but it also turns out to be slower to have to crawl down, well, have to walk this distance. So it's actually faster to walk this distance and then this distance. And we also just do these jumps to make sure we fall down as fast as possible. And then we go get the collectible. There isn't anything too interesting happening here. Here we're gonna try and do the same thing we did when we came from out of bounds, but it turns out to be a lot more difficult this time around, just because of where we're coming from. I actually did mess around with maybe not touching the left section at all, and I got pretty close. I just couldn't make it fast enough. I can get up here without being over here, which includes like doing setup shots over here and jumping up here and doing like the Lemove thing on this wall. But I can never quite make it fast enough to be worth it. So instead this shot is a setup shot. So we need the setup shot to make another setup shot, which is this shot. And this is very, very precise. See, we shoot it at the very last frame we can. So this needs to be very, very low because we don't have a lot of frames between here and here. But yeah, so it's essentially the same trick as we did here, but the setup shot to get the grounded state while we walk off here turns out to be a lot harder. Like maybe we could get it off of here, but I think with how far away it is, the shot would just take forever. So I think this is a better solution, and it also looks cooler. And then we have basically a copy of what we just did, but we come down here, and then I just added a little bit of flare. I wanted to shoot all of them, but there's 12 frames between each shot, and so that turns out to not be quite enough to break all of them. Here we're gonna do the strat used by most people, but we're not gonna bother going over here. We're just gonna do blue beam boosts up, and then shoot to the collectible and shoot over here. Then we have this. It's a slightly interesting way to do this, I guess. We actually do a boost off of there. It's a kind of interesting way you can actually do chain jumps in a one tile hallway, assuming there are openings like this. And then we just do a setup shot there and blue beam boost out. Here, so I was certain that you could do a dialogue skip on this core, and the reason I was certain was because I forgot about this row of blocks. I for some reason didn't think this was here. I thought it was just the slope. And with that in mind, it would absolutely be possible, as you'll see in a bit, because it's very, very close to being a dialogue skip. Because you can see we're at 9:3:19, and I think we leave the room at like 9:3:21 or something. So it's like a couple of frames off. Oh, it's actually 20. Okay, so we're one frame off being able to do the dialogue skip here. I don't know if maybe there's some way to make it work. I kind of doubt it. But you might be able to, maybe, like if you could get a slightly more height here, then you might be able to actually get the dialogue skip. But I wasn't able to make it work. Then we just climb out of here. There's going to be a lot of teleporting in a little bit. So this is just the fastest way to climb out, because we are going to turn this blue beam into an elevator. So much fun to watch. So that's just the fastest you can actually shoot. We're doing a shot every 16th frame going up here. And then for the final we boost up here, and we do basically what the unrepresenting game down TAS does here, and do another city warp. Then we shoot, this is kind of an interesting room. So we shoot at the top here. Of course it's a bit faster, and it also lines up very nicely these two shots. So we first shoot the Gauss gun, because shooting the teleport gun wouldn't do anything at this moment. And exactly 12 frames later, which is the earliest you can shoot, that is the earliest you can shoot according to the blue beam, and according to this, and according to this. So it just lines up very nicely, those 12 frames. It lines up so that you just get the reload from the Gauss gun shot, so you just get past the blue beam, and so you just hit the top of this. So it was complete, but it was a complete accident that I came across that. But yeah. And then we obviously go down to get the heart and do the death warp. Do a bit of a teleshot there just to get over there a bit quicker. And then go back a bit. So here, anyone who runs all collectibles knows that it's kind of tricky. It's a little bit of a tricky shot to do, because you need to wait until you start falling. Well, obviously we're going to go fast, so we don't want to do that. So we do a one frame turnaround here to do this setup shot. And this allows us to shoot this very, very early and get the grounded state over here. It's very precise though. And then we just do boosts of the stairs here. All of these boosts are like the last frame you can get the boost out of the jump. And I needed to do that way so that we can actually get the boost here. Because if you do it slightly earlier on any of these, you don't get enough height on this last one to do the shot in the next room. And obviously if you do the shot right here, the shot is gonna not hit the wall, because you're gonna go to the next room before it does. And this looks like a late shot, but it's actually bound by the shot we did here. So we have to wait 16 frames. And that's why it happens a little bit later. And then we just go and get the collectible and save warp. Then we're gonna do wall skip. I guess I haven't explained wall skip in a great detail, so this is a good chance to do it. So each of these shots and turnarounds are frame perfect. So you turn around on one frame and then you shoot on the next. You can do that every 16th frame because of how often you can shoot the teleshot. Yeah, and 16 frames is also just enough to get all the way over to the wall. So it turns out really nicely. And we just do that 4 times to get all the way up. And then comes the hard part. Yeah, for frame perfect shots is not the hard part. This is the actual hard part. So we do the shot here, and we actually have to wait a couple of frames before jumping. Because if we jump too early, we're actually going to go through the corner and warp the wrong direction. Because we want to transition first over to here, and then turn around and go through the corner this way. And then we're probably not going to be able to see much. Oh yeah, we do actually show up down here. And we transition over to here, and then we turn around. Oh, it actually rendered most of the frames. Usually around room transitions it tends to not render all the frames because it's loading stuff. But yeah, so this was actually pretty nice. And then we warp down over to here. Then we do just a normal transition over to here, and we do the last warp down here, which puts us right here on the right side of the wall and on the right side of the wall. And then we drop down here, and we just continue as normal pretty much. This is a strat I've came up with for a really long time ago. You can get the boost off here, just barely. It's right before you hit your head and lose all the momentum. And then we do basically stair boosts off of these ledges, and then blue beam boosts all the way up to here. And then we need to land again because we're going to do green beam jump here, and so we need the grounded state. And so this is really the only thing close by that we can get the ground state off. And so we need to actually get the glitch where you don't break it while landing on it, which it was kind of a pain. It was when I was doing any presenting game time, because that's where this is from. It was kind of a pain to find the right setup. I had to test with like lots of jump heights and coming in from different directions, and I'm still not sure how that works. But yeah, then we just do a green beam jump. This has changed a little bit from the end of presenting in time, just because we can shoot the teleshot a lot earlier here. And then we just do a boost off of this. Well, we do a green beam jump and then a boost off of this block to get above here. Then for this section, I'm not sure if it matters that we're not landing, but I did it just for style points. So we just grace the collectible there, and then we go down and we do a warp down here, which puts us in a slightly different position to what we would be in any presenting game time, where we warp higher up and we actually hit this wall. So this room is slightly different. I think in the other one, I think in any present we actually hit this one because we go under it because we're so much earlier. But in this we can't quite get under it, and so it turns out the fastest is to teleport to this block and then teleport to this immediately. Then think there's anything special. Well, actually there are some special things here. This room is kind of a pain just because you're falling too fast all the time. So right here, well, you want to be falling, but you don't want to fall in the lava. So you want to be falling because you want to have as much speed downwards to get through here. So if we didn't shoot this shot, then we would hit the lava before this could hit. So that's why we shoot this. We try and preserve some of the downward momentum. We could also land here, but that's really slow because if you're standing, then you're going to be standing over here, and it takes a while for you to accelerate. So here you start falling right away. And then this shot is actually just to slow down. So this block is in the way no matter what. And so in order to not hit the sides here and fall as fast as possible through here, we actually want to do this shot just to slow down a little bit so this block can get out of the way. And now here I really hoped there was some way to miss this, but I haven't found a way. As you can see, it's like 3 frames from when you enter to when you hit, so you couldn't even teleport to this wall in that time, which is a shame. But yeah, so we do have to, so we do lose a bit of speed here from hitting that. And then we do pretty much the normal strat here. There isn't really much interesting going on until we get to the death warp. Well, actually no, before the death warp as well, this also is one of those things that happened by accident, which is that this boosts you, oops, just the perfect amount. This could go a bit faster. There we go. So you're actually inside the hitbox of the chomper for this, and the boost from the brute shot just puts you in there. But it lines up perfectly with this shot so that you don't die. So you're inside the, I think you would end up inside the hitbox on the frame that you get teleported. And this is the new addition to the strat, which is doing a shot across the bottom here, which just gets you here faster. You don't have to climb down after talking to the guard. And then of course here we're gonna need to get hit twice, but it's still faster to do it off of here rather than the brute shot, as you can see. Also the teleshot I think is just, let's see, I think that was just because that was what the button I used to talk to the alien. And then we're here, and we do the boost under the block, because it is slightly faster. And then we continue on as normal pretty much. I don't think there's too much interesting going on here. This is kind of interesting. Rather than using this green beam to not fall in the lava, we use this one. And it turns out to be a bit faster because you can shoot this earlier. Because this is a much shorter distance than obviously shooting all the way over here and then hitting the ceiling there. And then we just do chain jumps. It looks really smooth and it lines up really nicely with falling block. And then we boost up here rather than here because it gets us slightly further over. Then here, this was actually one of Kieran's world records was the one that tipped me off that I could save some time here because apparently he's fast enough to walk into this block. I just randomly saw that while watching through it. And so that made me realize, because as you can see, we would be walking right into this right now, and it wouldn't start moving until there. So we will lose quite a lot of frames. But now we're already over here. So going across, first of all, it means we don't have to wait for this block to go up. It also means we can actually do a little bit of teleporting off of these blocks, which saves a little bit of time. This is also one of the places where it would desync the most, because all of these blocks are based on real time, and so how well the session goes depends on how fast the game processes stuff. So if you have a not too good computer, this section probably won't run well for you. And then this is pretty standard. We talked to him twice just because we're inside his checkpoint for that long. No, his hitbox for that long. There isn't much I can do about it, because it doesn't advance the frame when I talk to him, and so I can't press anything once, which saves, well, it loses a bit of real time, which is a shame, but whatever. And then this collectible, which you might have been worried we'd forgotten about, but we're actually going to do it now. And we're going to do it without losing any time over the any percenting in time version of this room, because we do it while this shot is traveling on over here. It took quite a lot of time to actually get this to line up correctly. But yeah, we actually get it within a couple of frames, so more than enough time to get it. And then we just climb out. We obviously do green beam jump for swag. And then here, this is the new strat for this room, and it's really complicated. So we're still in the air, by the way, and we actually get grounded. So this very barely. So if you see, we actually shoot. We don't shoot. We shoot slightly down the slope, which gets it slightly lower, but not so low that it hits the slope. That's actually crucial. And after doing this shot, we don't have enough time to get any downwards momentum, so we're basically stationary here. We actually have a little bit of upwards momentum, and then we just about have enough time. You can actually see the landing animation happens after we get teleported, which means it happens on the same frame we get teleported. That's like double frame perfect, I guess, because you need this and this. But yeah, it's very barely possible. And then we just go over here and do chain jumps up, and then we obviously get the checkpoint for later, and then we go and get the last core. Yeah, slopes are weird. That's why I hate working with slopes. The hitboxes are really weird, and especially when you're teleporting into them. And this is just the earliest you can do that turnaround shot, and then we just fall down to skip the dialogue. This room isn't really that interesting. I tried coming up with some way to not have to depend on these, but the gap is too big and I can't get the setup shots right, and so I couldn't figure out a fast way to climb up here without using these blocks. It would have been interesting though. There might still be something that's possible. I didn't want to spend forever on it. Speaking of spending forever on a room, welcome to my worst nightmare. This is Violet Hall. So I'm actually just gonna let it play, and then I can talk about what I wanted to do. So that's what I would call a one cycle. So this whole room is basically dependent on this block right here, because that obviously moves up and down and blocks off this, which is where we want to get the shot off. Let's see if we can. Well, I was a bit far back. So if we could beat the cycle we usually use, which is what I ended up using, then we could do a zero cycle, which is essentially just getting the shot off on this cycle. As you can see, we're getting pretty close here, but well, I had two plans. One was to do a kind of Lemieux trick over here. You do a setup shot to grounded state over here, you do a boost off of this, you get far enough away and shoot, get to the grounded state and do the little move trick or whatever to get up here. And in theory that worked, except I had miscounted the number of blocks between this slope and this slope. So I was like 5 frames short of what I needed, so it didn't work out. And then my second idea was to just do blue beam boosts, which again also was very, very close to working. As you can see, we can do 3 here. This is really just a jump. Well, actually it is a boost because we are up in the air. But yeah, we do 3 boosts off of the blue beam, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't get a 4th one off of here. The teleshot just doesn't reload fast enough. But if we could get that off there, then I bet we could get on top of here and shoot through this opening before this raises again. But no matter, yeah, like I said, no matter what I tried, I was always like a couple of pixels off or a couple of frames away from being able to do it. So what we get instead is just a bunch of waiting for this. Though I'm pretty happy about how close. Okay, I've gotten it closer in some recordings where it actually overlaps the corner. But yeah, at least I got that close. And then we do chain jumps here, obviously, because it's faster than waiting for this block. And then we just talk to the trader and upgrade our ship. And then almost all of the rest of the... Also, this is just for style points. The very last frame you can shoot that last shot. Obviously you don't need to with the upgraded gun. Yeah, the rest up until the final boss fight is... Well, horseshoe is also a bit different. Here, we've seen this before. It's just a shot every 16 frames. To get all the way up and do a warp off of this corner, which puts us up here. And I think it saves like 2 or 3 seconds when we're doing it the other way. Because the other way obviously is dependent on the brute shot. And then we do the full green beam jump here and the shot off of here, because it obviously saves us a bit of time. Then it's the normal strat for this room, really. Nothing too interesting. And then we have this strat, which I've gushed about before, but I really like this strat. So obviously we don't want anything to do with this because it's slow and dependent on cycles. So we do blue beam boosts all the way up here, and then all of this kind of lined up by accident when I was trying to do this strat. So we actually do a pixel perfect boost off of the ghost. So it's the top pixel where you can do damage, or you can do damage boost without getting damaged. You can get boosted without getting damaged. And then we just shoot into the brute. We do damage boost in the middle of the brute, and also barely get out. There's a frame missing there. And then we barely get enough height to clear this ledge, and we barely miss landing on top of this brute shot. And actually that is one of the other places where it can often desync, because this brute shot is based off of real time and not in-game time. So if your game runs slightly slower, then you're gonna land right on top of that. But if not, then it's gonna be fine, and we're gonna get over here. Actually, the final section of this is also kind of interesting. We actually do a frame perfect jump off of, if we could, yeah, going back frames slow. But yeah, we do a frame perfect jump off of this block right here. And of course the frame we jump is missing from the recording. And then we just do a boost off of here to keep our upwards momentum, so we get the boost here. And then we just do slope boosts all the way up. And then this is the new strat for this, where we go off the right wall. we have this setup shot for getting to the grounded state to do the green beam jump. And I think that like barely works out. Yeah. And we do a little boost to jump here, just slightly faster. And then this next room changed a bit from the any printing time, just because with the upgraded Gauss gun it's actually faster to just do the non-damage boost strat, like so. Then there's this, which I've also definitely gushed about, which is a very, very precise way to do triple cut script without having to go down here. So we do this setup shot rather than doing this setup shot. This obviously has a lot more falling, and so we actually need to first of all have a bit of downwards momentum. You see there's about a 2 frame grace period here. 1, 2, 3. 3 or 4. And that gives us just enough time. Again, the actual landing happens at the same time as we teleport. And we can jump out of it and get up. And then there's just the move trick 3 times. And then comes probably the coolest section of this TAS, in my opinion. It's the first boss fight. It is also stuff that I kind of came across by accident. So first of all, we actually have to wait 2 frames to shoot the Gauss gunner. Kind of an interesting fact. But this, I guess the hitbox for this door kind of exists just as we enter, and then it disappears a little bit after or something. I'm not sure. But if you shoot like, we're missing a frame. But I think if you shoot on this frame as well, yeah, any of these frames, then it just hits something. And so we have to wait a little bit. But then we just shoot 3 frames across the bottom. This works fine. On the other cycles it won't work, but on this first cycle he spawns up here, and then he does this sort of animation downwards, and he does a bit of a dip at the end, which is just like tweening for the animation, I guess, which dips his hitbox far enough down that these 3 will actually hit. We also do 3 more shots here, slightly later than the other ones. So these are actually for the second phase, or the third, I guess. This is the first, but the second right phase. And then we immediately turn around and start shooting here. And this is gonna lead to the shortest Grigori phase I think is possible, period. So the last shot is gonna hit there. He spawns up here on the first frame, and then on the next frame, which of course is missing, his hitbox actually spawns inside that shot right there. And then the second one hits, and then the last one. And these 3, which we set up earlier, are now going to do their magic. And so this is the first frame we can hit him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So he was alive for 14 frames, which, considering the fact that you can only shoot a Gauss gun shot every 12 frames, is kind of incredible. So there should in theory be 24 frames between the first one hitting and the last one hitting, because there are 12 frames between each. But first of all, we were moving to the right while we were shooting them, so they're not exactly 12 frames apart. And in addition, he spawned inside the first one, so the second one hit a lot earlier than 12 frames. But yeah, so 14 frames I'm pretty sure is, unless you do some setup with like overlapping, you can probably do some setup with teleporting where you can overlap shots to make him live shorter than that, but it would be difficult. And then we already have the shots ready here, and again the frame is missing, but he spawns inside this shot, and then we shoot the last 2 ones. Then we have these 3 for this phase, and we're actually gonna set up fast exit, which I'm gonna explain in a bit. So we do the teleshot, while moving to the right, do a bit of a jump to get this shot. And this is 16 frames after this, which is the earliest you can do it. That'll be important later. And then we just immediately turn down and do the last 3 shots on the second to last phase. And so right here we're going to do what I like to call fast exit. So this door has a hitbox obviously, which we can hit with the teleshot. But immediately upon killing Grigori, the hitbox disappears. You can also see we move slightly, so the teleporting to this actually puts us slightly away from the actual hitbox. So we have a little bit of room. I think it's 2 or 3 frames. We can still move before we hit the hitbox. So what we want to happen is to teleport off the hitbox and then have the hitbox disappear before we get to it, because then we won't run into it and lose speed. So what we want is for him to immediately die. So the hitbox is gone now, or it at least will be gone the moment the dialogue disappears. So as you can see, even though the animation for the door isn't done, we can walk through it because the hitbox disappears immediately. And I don't know what happened here, but the animation actually glitched for some reason. Or is it just playing really slowly? It might just be playing slowly. And then we have this room, which has stair boosts, which are not fun. Like, this makes no sense, because we're teleporting here, but we're showing up here. Like I said, slopes are weird. And I had lots of trouble actually making this work, because you end up places you weren't expecting to end up. And then we do a little jump here to get the most momentum. So we teleport right before we hit the ground, so we get a lot of momentum downwards. And there isn't really too much interesting here, I guess, so you can just enjoy the very short final boss fight, and done. So yeah, that's 21,000 frames, or 7 minutes 12 seconds. Again, I kind of wished it would be sub 7, and I kind of thought it would be for a bit, because I had miscalculated how much the real time was going to take up. But yeah, it's not a bad time, honestly. There are maybe some places where it could be improved, but there aren't many. Mostly because a lot of the sections are from the any presenting TAS, and that's been very optimized at this point. So it would be all of the sections that aren't, so getting collectibles and stuff. There might also be some collectibles where you can skip the dialogue, which I haven't been able to find. That could shave off, and that immediately shaves off 2 seconds of the real time. So that's very nice. So hopefully something that can be found. But yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm probably not going to be doing any TAS stuff anytime soon. There are none of the other categories really interest me at this point. Like HAP and 107 isn't really interesting from a TASing standpoint. I guess killing enemies would be interesting, but it's just a lot of work, and I just don't have the time and energy to do it. The only thing that would be kind of interesting to see is all achievements, but that is a lot of work, and I also had TAS on the itch.io version, and so there aren't achievements there, so I would have to TAS on the Steam version, and I would probably have to reset my achievements to make sure either I just have to keep count manually with stuff. So probably not going to do that. It would take forever as well. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.